I'm L.B.Munoz, and this is David Borawski, and he has a brand new art exhibition that's opening in a very unique space, and we're going to hear a little bit about it. So tell me about the Atom Space.
Basically, there was a vacant ATM on the corner of Trimble and Pearl Street, and we were looking at it for quite a while, and Anne Cubberly and myself approached a friend of hers at the Greater Hartford Arts Council, and they hooked it up, and they said we could use it.
So what makes you think, when you're looking at an abandoned ATM space, we should put art in here?
I kind of think that about any vacant space, but you know, it's somewhat manageable in some ways. The thing is, in May I had a show in Brooklyn, which was kind of the same kind of thing. It was a small little space with a glass front, and it was just a matter of you see the show through the window, so it was like always open. And it was kind of I thought it was pretty cool because I had to approach it differently as well as an artist, because you can't go in with, you're doing sculpture installation, usually, you know, the viewer interacts with it, walks around or whatever, and this was not. It was almost like kind of like a vignette. You just see it through a window, so I had to deal with it differently. Somebody saw this, I kind of thought of that because I thought that was interesting, plus for some artists that I had in mind too, that would be a little probably challenge for them as well. But it's also, it's always open in a sense, or always not open.
Right, right.
So, because it lights up at night, so, you know, it's always visible through the glass, so I don't have to worry about sitting it, I don't have to worry about hours open or anything, you know. So.
Interesting. So there must be some really unique challenges in that, taking something that's really 3D, but you're only getting to experience it from a 2D perspective.
Yeah, yeah, there definitely is. So that's, you know, that's what makes it different. So you're still doing your work, but you know, you're almost having the viewer in a somewhat set vantage point. So you have to approach it that way. Yeah.
And so you and Anne are kind of curating this as
Right.
a series of works.
Right.
And when you're looking at that specific challenge of how to view the work, did that help you or hinder you or make it challenging to find artists to put into that space?
No, not really. I mean, the next artist I want to show is Cullen Washington. He's from Boston, and basically I liked his work because when I sat on a juror here at Real Artways, he was an alternate. I couldn't, you know, because it was 3 jurors, you couldn't, you know, just say, oh, I want this guy. So I just kept saying, I just like to somehow bring him to Hartford, you know. So this is going to be his chance, I think. So.
Cool. I'm excited too. I liked his work a lot
yeah?
itself.
Yeah.
And given that I didn't sit as closely to the work as you did, but I did see all of those pieces, and he definitely stood out for me too.
Yeah.
So that would be interesting.
Yeah.
But you have the first show.
Yeah, but basically the Arts Council has an Arts Week where they have all these events, and they called us up and they said, were we thinking of opening during that week? Because if we did, they would help promote us. They'd include it. And so I said, absolutely. Well, I can't, you know, rush anybody that's thinking down the road, so I just figured
You can rush yourself.
I do, yeah. I'm always good in short notice. Yeah.
So tell me about the piece that's going in there.
It's actually, like I do a lot of my installations, it's more than one piece, but they all work together in the space. So there's going to be an overhead element that are these pennants, you know, like you see the little, like the gas station openings.
Sure.
Only they're all black. And so I think in terms of visuals first, and then there's these cardboard pieces on the floor, and actually bringing back what I tend to do in my shows is bring back sometimes an element from a previous show, whether it's last year or 10 years ago, something that I think fits, but now, so it brings its kind of baggage from the first show with it, and now it's in with new work, and so it kind of, you know, brings in some meaning with it, and then interacts with the new work. So this piece that I did at the library a couple of years ago, so it's called Is It Getting Hot in Here, or Is It Just Me? It's a big urn, basically, like a Grecian urn, but I have a decal on it that says Born to Win, and 2 checkered flags. So it's about, when it was at the library, it was filled with ice, and the ice would melt, and it was dealing with the economy, basically, how the economy was melting. Well, I think it still has that meaning to it, only instead of ice in it, there's going to be a light in it, so it's going to be glowing this time. So I think it's because there's the way I look at it is it's kind of this what they're calling jobless recovery, but basically it's, it's the further, using the recession to further the economic gap between the rich and poor. So, and then the cardboard, this is something I've been doing for a few years, and there's pieces that I do where I actually peel some of the cardboard layer off so you see underneath it. So basically there's the piece on the floor is called Heads I Win, Tails You Lose, and there's cutouts on those pieces of cardboard as well. But then I started thinking about the flags. I was thinking about the flags, and then there was this great, but it was actually cynical quote from Rick Perry a few weeks ago, where he said that America had a big black cloud over it, which everybody read into probably what he meant, that it was Obama. So it's like, so these black flags are these big black clouds. So
interesting. I never thought I'd hear you quote Rick Perry. So.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I don't do it in a favorable way. So
how interesting. And so the location that we're talking about, being in the corner of Pearl and Trumbull,
right,
is probably the most traffic that's going there are people going to hockey games or going to lunch, from their
Trumbull Kitchen's right next door.
Right, so they're coming down from their high rises and going to lunch with their badges and all that good stuff.
Right.
So I'm wondering what you think of that as your audience.
Well, I don't know if I have an audience. That's the thing, or if I do, it's a matter of, I mean, when I do any of the pieces I do, I want them to be visually engaging. So somebody looking out, if somebody wants to start thinking about it and looking at the titles, and maybe they'll see more and they can dig in. It's almost like a archaeological dig. I mean, there's different layers or different levels on the work. But I mean, I think it will be visually stimulating. So I think it whether they know what I'm talking about or whatever. I don't know if that matters. You know what I mean? So I don't know if that matters if they get something out of it. I mean, a lot of times, as most artists will say, somebody will look at the work and say, "Oh, what does it mean?" Well, I don't like to tell anybody what it means. I like to throw, even though I've told you a few things, that's not all it can be. That's not all I'm thinking. I usually like to throw various things from my thought process out there, and the idea is, I don't want to tell you what to think, because maybe, I want to lead you down a path, and then you're kind of on your own, because you might see something I never thought of, and there's nothing wrong with that.
Excellent. So your piece is opening when?
Friday, September 23rd.
23rd, and running until?
November 4th.
November 4th.
So we're trying to do like 6-week shows so that they're up for a while, plus it's a little less, management-wise as far as takedown, setup, that kind of stuff. Sure.
So that's a nice long period of time, and you can see it anytime, day or night. It's always there. And then Cullen's show is next, and then what's next in the series?
We're looking at either Anne or Nina Salazar. We'll probably do that January show.
Excellent. How long do you have the space?
Until somebody rents it. Which
really?
Could be next month.
Or it could be never. I mean, that space was abandoned for a long time.
That's right, yeah. I mean, say 10, 15 years ago, I did, a series around Hartford of hit and run shows. I used to call them. I'd fix up a space and put a show on. And I'd sit the show, on weekends and stuff, which is nice. Here, there's nobody has to sit it. The thing was, when you do something like that, there's always the specter of someone renting it hanging over you. So I'm used to that. And actually, the one show which I thought was pretty successful was on Airport Road. There's a photography studio there, Charles Vendetti, and so he let me use this garage space he had. And while I'm just about to have it cleaned up, somebody's looking around and wants to rent it. He had basically used it for storage for 6 years, empty. You know what I mean?
And
just
then as soon as you got in there,
right? So he told the guy, "You have to wait till the show is over," and that is still there today.
That's great.
So he's had that renter now for 10 years.
Yeah, I really think it's great when you see that sort of thing happening in Hartford in these abandoned spaces that are just eyesores unless someone is to go in and do something.
Right.
And if that leads to more prosperity in downtown Hartford, then you've done a service.
Right.
More than just showing your art to the community. So that's great.
Good.
Well, I wish you luck, and I can't wait to see your work.
All right.
Thanks.
Thanks.